One day, a young boy helped an elderly man carry some heavy wood, expecting nothing in return. The next morning, a shiny black car stopped in front of his house. When he heard what the man had to say, he couldn't believe it. Sam adjusted the stack of newspapers on his bike, feeling the early morning breeze as the sun rose. The road ahead stretched like it always did, and he breathed in the fresh air, feeling the weight of his usual responsibilities settle on his shoulders. Each pedal took him closer to delivering the papers, which were important for his family. As he turned onto the next street, something caught his attention. An old man was bent over, trying to lift a heavy piece of wood that had fallen in his yard. Sam frowned. The man's back was hunched in pain, and he looked like he was struggling a lot. Sam hesitated, knowing that he needed to finish his deliveries quickly, but the old man seemed like he really needed help. Ugh, okay, Sam muttered to himself. He took a deep breath and steered his bike towards the old man's house. He parked it against a fence and called out, "Hey, mister. Do you need help?" The old man looked up, surprised. His face was tired and wrinkled, and he blinked a few times. "Oh, des, I could use some help. These old bones aren't what they used to be," he said. Without saying anything else, Sam walked over, took hold of the wood, and together, they lifted it. The wood was heavier than Sam thought, and his arms started to ache. "Lift with your legs," Sam said, adjusting his grip. The old man nodded, and they worked together, moving the wood inch by inch until it was against the side of the house. The old man leaned back, catching his breath and wiping his forehead. "You're a strong kid," he said with a weak smile. "Thank you." Not many would stop to help. Sam felt a little shy from the compliment. "It's nothing," he said. "You looked like you needed help." The old man laughed softly, but it was the kind of laugh that showed how tired he was. He pointed to some more wood on the ground. "Can you help me with the rest?" Sam looked at the sky, the sun getting higher. He needed to finish his deliveries, but the old man's eyes were full of hope. Sam sighed and said, "All right, let's get this done." They worked quietly, moving the wood from one spot to another. Sam's arms grew sore, but he didn't stop. The old man gave him small instructions about where to place the wood. Finally, when they finished, the old man sighed with relief. "Thank you, boy. You don't know how much I needed that," he said. Sam smiled, wiping his hands on his pants. "Glad I could help," he said, turning to go back to his bike. He still had papers to deliver. Before he could leave, the old man called to him, "Wait, boy." Sam stopped and turned back. "You didn't tell me your name," the old man said. Sam thought for a moment and then replied, "My name is Sam." The old man smiled. "Well, Sam, I'm Richard. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to ask." Sam nodded awkwardly. "Okay, Mr. Richard. Take care." He hopped back on his bike, ready to get the rest of his work done. But as he pedaled away, he couldn't help but smile. It felt good to help, even if it meant being late. By the time Sam finished delivering all the papers, the sun was high, and his stomach was rumbling. He parked his bike outside his small house and heard his mom, Laura, humming inside as she cooked. Sam went inside and greeted her, the smell of beans filling the air. "Late again?" Laura asked from the kitchen. "Yeah, but it's done," Sam replied with a tired smile. His little sister, Lily, ran in and hugged him tightly. "I missed you," she said. "I missed you too, Squirt," Sam said, ruffling her hair. "Been good for Mom?" Lily nodded happily. "Yep, I helped her with the dishes." Sam laughed. "That's my girl." As they ate together, Sam couldn't stop thinking about the old man, Richard. There was something in Richard's eyes, something that made Sam feel like what he did was important. That night, after a long day, Sam lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. His muscles ached, but it wasn't the tiredness that kept him awake. It was the thought of Richard and the grateful look on his face. Sam had done the right thing, but something told him that this was just the beginning of something big. The next morning, the sunlight woke Sam up earlier than usual. He stretched, feeling the soreness from the day before. He was still tired, but he couldn't stop thinking about helping Richard. Sam ate a little bread for breakfast and then heard his mom's soft voice. "You up early today?" "Yeah, gotta get a head start," Sam said, wiping crumbs from his mouth. His mom gave him a concerned look. You need to rest sometimes too, you know? Sam smiled and shrugged. I have to keep going, Mom. It's what we have to do. Lily came into the kitchen, still half asleep. Morning, Gabby, she said, using the nickname she had for Sam. Morning, Squirt. Did you sleep well? Sam asked, kneeling down to her. Yeah. I dreamed we all flew. Lily said, her eyes wide. Sam smiled, maybe one day we will. After breakfast, Sam went out to do his newspaper route. He worked hard, tossing papers onto doorsteps. As he passed the old man's yard, he noticed that the wood they had moved yesterday was still against the house. He wondered how Richard was doing but didn't have time to stop. After finishing the route, Sam went home and found his mom cooking lunch. Done for the day? She asked. Yeah, Sam said, wiping his forehead. It was a long one. Good, you need rest, Laura said. Sit down and eat. Sam glanced around. Where's Lily? She's at Mrs. Rose's house, his mom said, smiling. After eating, Sam decided to check on his sister. He walked over to Mrs. Rose's house and saw Lily playing with the other kids. When she saw Sam, she ran over, grinning. Gabby, come play with us. Sam shook his head. You keep playing. I'm just watching. Lily smiled up at him. You're the best, Gabby. Sam ruffled her hair. You're the best too, Squirt. Later, they walked home together as the sun began to set. When they got inside, Laura greeted them warmly, it's getting late. That night, Sam lay in bed, still thinking about Richard and his grateful smile. He didn't know what it meant yet, but he felt like it was just the beginning of something important. The next morning, Sam got up early again. As he was heading out for his paper route, he heard a car engine grow louder. He looked up and saw a shiny black limousine turning onto his street. Sam froze, surprised. No one around here had a car like that. The limo stopped outside Sam's house, and he saw his mom step outside, looking worried. Sam dropped his newspaper and pedaled back quickly. The neighborhood seemed to wake up, people peeking out their windows. A man stepped out of the limo, dressed in a suit. Sam? The man called out. Sam's heart raced. Yeah? He asked. The man smiled and walked up to him. I'm Daniel. You helped my father, Richard, yesterday. He wanted me to thank you. Sam blinked, surprised. Is he okay? Thanks to you, he's doing great, Daniel said. He told me how you stopped to help him without asking for anything in return. Not many people do that. Sam looked at his mom, who seemed just as confused. Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. This is for you, a small thank you, he said. Sam stepped back. I didn't do it for money. Daniel looked at him for a moment and then smiled. You're a good kid. Most wouldn't turn down a gift like this. Sam looked at the envelope, but he shook his head. I really can't take it. Daniel seemed impressed. I run a company, Sam. We're always looking for hardworking, honest people. If you're interested, I'd like to offer you a job. Sam's heart skipped. He wasn't sure what to say, but one thing was for sure, his life was about to change. Work. The word hung in the air, and Sam felt like his feet had left the ground. He blinked, trying to understand what Daniel had just said. A job? A real job? For me? Laura stepped forward, her face full of concern. What kind of job? She asked, her voice sharp. Why would you offer my son a job? Ben didn't flinch. He met Laura's eyes calmly. I know this sounds surprising, ma'am, but this is not charity. I'm offering Lucas an opportunity because I think he deserves it. My boss spoke highly of him, and we appreciate people who do the right thing even when it's tough. Sam looked at his mother, then back at Daniel. His mind raced. This wasn't something that happened to people like him. People didn't just show up and offer jobs. It felt like a dream that he'd wake up from any second. I don't know, Sam stammered, looking at Laura. I don't even know what I'd be doing. Daniel nodded, his expression understanding. I get it. It's a lot to take in. You don't need to decide now. But think about it. It's a real job and it could help your family. If you're interested, just let me know. He handed Sam a business card, which Sam took with trembling hands. Laura stayed quiet, her eyes shifting between Lucas and Daniel, unsure if she could trust the man's offer. Sam could feel the worry in her eyes, the fear of him being tricked by someone promising things that weren't real. After a moment, Daniel gave them a respectful nod and stepped back toward the car. "Take your time. There's no rush. My boss and I are just grateful for what you did," he said, giving Sam a final smile before getting into the car. The vehicle drove off, kicking up dust in its wake. Sam looked down at the business card, his heart racing. He felt Laura's hand on his shoulder, her fingers tightening just a little. "Sam," she said quietly, her voice shaking, "I don't know about this. It might not be what it seems." He nodded, still staring at the card. "I know, Mom. I don't know what to think either." He looked up at her, trying to smile, but it felt weak. "But what if it's real? What if it's a real chance to make things better?" Laura's expression softened. She pulled him into a tight hug. "We'll think about it, all right? We won't rush into anything." The rest of the day passed by in a blur for Sam. He went through his usual chores, his body moving on autopilot, but his thoughts kept returning to that card. The weight of what had happened and what might happen was almost too much to handle. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change. Later that evening, they sat at the kitchen table. The business card sat in front of them, its white surface glowing under the dim kitchen light. Laura's eyes stayed on Sam, a mix of worry and disbelief in them. "We need to talk about this," she said softly, but there was an edge to her voice that made Sam sit up straighter. "I know, Mom," he said, running his hand through his messy hair. "It sounds crazy, right? A car showing up offering me a job? It doesn't make sense." Laura sighed and reached for the card. She looked at it as though it might burn her. "It's more than crazy, Sam. It feels dangerous. People don't just give things like this away. They always want something in return." Sam nodded slowly. "I know what you mean." He looked at her, trying to make sense of everything swirling inside him. "But what if it's not like that? What if it's a good thing?" He said, "I'm worth it. What if this could help us?" Laura's face softened, but she shook her head, her eyes pleading. "We don't know them, Sam. We don't know anything about them. You're just a kid, and the world isn't always kind to kids like you. There are people who will take advantage of kindness." Sam stared down at the table, frustration building up inside him. He knew she was right. He had seen how hard she worked to protect him and his little sister, Lily, from the world. But something inside him still held on to hope. Maybe, just maybe, this was different. "What if it's real, Mom?" he asked quietly. "What if this is my chance to help you, to make things better for Lily?" Laura's eyes filled with tears, and she pulled him into another hug. "I don't want you to get hurt, Sam. We've been through so much already." "I know, Mom," he said, squeezing her hand. "I don't want that either. But I need to find out more. If it's a good chance, I want to try." They stayed silent for a long time, her thumb brushing across his hand. Finally, she nodded. "All right, Sam. We'll take it slow. But I'll be with you every step of the way. We won't trust anyone until we know for sure." Sam let out a breath of relief. "Thank you, Mom. I promise I won't do anything without you." The next morning, Sam woke up early, his chest heavy with the events of the day before. As he went through his morning routine, he couldn't stop looking at the business card on the table. It felt like it was staring back at him, daring him to make a decision. When he stepped outside to begin his usual tasks, Laura stood in the doorway, watching him with concern. "Be careful today, Sam. Don't let your mind wander too much, all right?" He smiled at her, trying to hide the worry he felt. "I will, Mom. I promise." The day passed by slowly, his thoughts constantly drifting back to Daniel's offer. Could he really trust this? Was he good enough for a job like that? Or was it too good to be true? When he finished his last delivery for the day, he saw some of his neighbors standing near a fence. They whispered as he passed by. He could feel their eyes on him, wondering why a rich man would come to his house. Lucas kept his head down, ignoring the gossip as best as he could. When he got home, Laura was waiting for him. "People are talking, Sam," she said, worry in her voice. I know, Mom, Sam replied, feeling frustrated. I saw them. They all think it's strange. Laura came closer, her hand resting on his shoulder. They just want to protect you. People here know how hard life can be, and they don't want to see you get your hopes up. I know, Mom, Sam said. But we have to take chances sometimes, right? Otherwise, nothing changes. Laura studied him for a moment before nodding slowly. I know, Lucas. I just want you to be safe. Later that evening, they heard footsteps outside. Lucas's heart skipped a beat. He looked out the window and saw Daniel standing at their gate. This time, there was no car, just Daniel by himself. Laura looked at him, her face tense. I'm coming with you, Sam. He nodded, and together they stepped outside. Daniel smiled warmly as they approached. Good evening, he greeted. Sorry to show up like this. I just wanted to give you both more time to think. Laura stepped in front of Sam, her eyes fixed on Daniel. We've thought about it. But we're not rushing into anything. We need to know exactly what you're offering. Daniel nodded. I understand. I just want to reassure you that this is a real opportunity. Sam will start with small tasks, nothing too complicated, but enough for him to learn and grow. Sam felt a nervous excitement bubbling inside him. He stepped forward. I want to try, Mr. Daniel. I want to see if this could work. Daniel smiled at Sam and then looked at Laura. I'll make sure Lucas is taken care of. We'll start slow. You have my word. Laura took a deep breath. All right. We'll take it one step at a time. Daniel handed Sam a piece of paper with an address. Come by tomorrow and we'll show you what it's all about. No pressure. If you decide it's not for you, you're free to walk away. Sam took the paper, his hands trembling. He looked at Laura, who gave him a tense but hopeful nod. All right, he said quietly. We'll see you tomorrow. Daniel nodded and left, and Sam felt a mix of fear and excitement building inside him. Tomorrow, he would take the first step into something new. Laura's mother spoke gently, her eyes full of warmth and pride. Laura, she said softly. Laura looked at her, a small smile forming at the corner of his lips. I want to feel like I belong there, Mum. She nodded, understanding. You belong, Laura. Don't ever doubt that. Just go in and do your best. That's all anyone can ask for. Laura took a deep breath, feeling comfort from her words. It helped calm his nerves. Thanks, Ma. He gave her a quick hug before heading out the door, his heart beating fast as he hopped onto his bike and rode toward the office. The streets felt different today. The weight of what was ahead made everything sharper, the sound of a barking dog, neighbors calling out, and his bike chain rattling. He focused on each sound to keep his mind calm. When he got to the office, Daniel was already there, waiting by the door. He smiled and waved when he saw Sam. Morning, Sam. Glad to see you. Sam shyly smiled back. Morning, Daniel. Daniel waved it off. Just Daniel, kid. No need to be formal. Sam nodded, parking his bike and following Daniel inside. They walked down the same hallway from the day before, and when they entered the room where Max was already sitting at his desk, Sam felt a strange sense of comfort. The room was starting to feel familiar. He hoped that meant he was fitting in. Max looked up and gave a nod. Ready to go? He asked with a grin. Sam set his bag down. I'm ready. Max stood up and handed Sam a pile of papers. Today we're sorting these, but I'll also show you how to put some of this info into the computer. Sam's eyes widened, and he felt nervous. He'd seen computers at school, but he'd never used one. The thought was both exciting and scary. Max seemed to notice his hesitation and smiled. Don't worry, Sam. We'll go slow. I'll show you each step. And if you mess up, it's no big deal. We all start somewhere. Sam felt a little better. He stepped closer to the desk where Max was sitting, watching him closely as Max demonstrated how to log in, open the program, and put in the data from the papers. Sam's fingers felt awkward as he touched the keyboard for the first time. He wasn't sure where to press, but Max was patient, guiding him step by step. Slowly, Sam began typing, and the keys clicked beneath his fingers. He focused on getting the numbers right. Good job, Max said, nodding. You're picking it up quickly. Sam smiled, feeling proud. It was slow at first, and he had to keep checking everything to make sure it was right, but he could feel himself learning. That was enough to keep him going. After a while, Daniel came into the room, leaning against the door frame, watching Sam work. How's it going in here? Daniel asked. Max gave him a thumbs up. He's doing great. Really focused. Daniel nodded, smiling at Sam. I knew you'd get the hang of it. Keep it up. Sam felt his face get warm but managed to smile back. Thanks, Tim. I'll do my best. As the day went on, Max gave Sam more tasks to do, sorting, organizing, and entering data. Each time, Sam worked carefully, his fingers moving a little more confidently. By lunchtime, his stomach was growling, and Max stood up, stretching his arms. Let's take a break, Max said, grinning at Sam. You earned it. Sam nodded, following Max to the small break room. Daniel was there talking to another worker, but when he saw Sam and Max, he waved them over. Sam, come meet Erin, Daniel said, gesturing to the young woman beside him. Erin helps keep things running here. She's in charge of operations. Erin smiled, shaking Sam's hand. Nice to meet you, Sam. I've heard a lot about you. Sam felt a little awkward but shook her hand. Nice to meet you too. They sat down together, and Daniel handed Sam a sandwich. Here, Sam. You need your energy. Sam took it, grateful. Most days, lunch was just something quick, but this felt like a treat. He unwrapped it and took a bite, enjoying the taste of fresh bread and meat. So, Sam, Erin asked, her eyes kind. How's your first day going so far? Sam swallowed and nodded. It's good. A little hard, but I like it. Daniel slapped Sam on the back. That's what I like to hear. Hard work pays off, Sam. You're doing great. Sam smiled, feeling a mix of tiredness and pride. It was strange to feel supported, to know people wanted to see him succeed. He wasn't used to it, but it made him want to prove he could do this. After lunch, Sam went back to his desk, ready to finish the rest of his work. Max showed him a few more tasks and Sam took them on eagerly. With each task, his confidence grew. He could see himself learning and improving. At the end of the day, Sam was tired, but it was the good kind of tired, the kind that comes from knowing you've worked hard. Max gave him a pat on the shoulder. Great job today, Sam. You've got a real talent for this. Sam smiled back. Thanks, Max. I'll be ready to learn more tomorrow. As Sam left the building, Daniel was waiting by the door, and his mother, Laura, was waiting by the gate, just like she promised. Daniel shook Sam's hand firmly. I'm proud of you, Sam. You've got something special. Keep it up, and who knows how far you'll go. Sam nodded, his heart full of gratitude. Thanks, Daniel. I'll do my best. As Sam walked home, Lucy watched him closely. How was it? Sam smiled, tired but excited. It was good, Mom. I think I really belong there. Laura's eyes softened, and she pulled him into a hug, holding him tight. I'm so proud of you, Sam. You're doing something amazing. Sam hugged her back, feeling warm inside. He was doing this for her, for their future. Things were just starting to change, and he was ready. The next day, Sam woke up with his muscles sore and his mind tired from the day before. But there was a new fire in him. He stretched, wincing a little from the aches. It had been a long day, but the feeling of accomplishment stayed with him. Laura was already up, making breakfast. Ready for another day, Sam? She asked, smiling but with a hint of concern in her eyes. Sam gave her a small smile. Yeah, Mom. I'm ready. She handed him a plate. Just remember, you don't have to be perfect. You're learning, and that's what matters. Sam nodded, feeling her support give him strength. After breakfast, he grabbed his bag, kissed his mom on the cheek, and stepped outside. The ride to the office felt shorter today. He wasn't as scared anymore. He knew the building now. He knew Max and Daniel, and the routine was starting to feel normal. It was beginning to feel like a place where he belonged. Daniel greeted him with a big smile. Morning, Sam. Ready to go? Sam nodded, feeling more confident. I'm ready. As the day went on, Sam worked more efficiently. Each new task felt easier, and he even got to do more challenging work. By lunchtime, he was feeling good about the progress he had made. He liked being part of the team. He was starting to see that the work mattered, and he was good at it. After lunch, Sam went back to work with a renewed sense of purpose. He knew there would still be challenges ahead, but for the first time, he felt like he was on the right path. When he finished for the day, Max gave him a compliment. "Great work today, Sam. You're picking it up quickly." Sam smiled, feeling proud. "Thanks, Max. I just want to do it right." As the day ended, Tim walked him to the door. "You're part of the team now, Sam. We believe in you." Sam felt a lump in his throat. "Thank you, Tim. That means a lot." After leaving the building, Sam felt lighter. For the first time, he felt like he was part of something bigger. As he rode home, the sun was setting behind him. When he turned the corner, he saw Laura waiting for him. "How was it, Sam?" she asked, smiling brightly. "It was good, Mom. I'm learning a lot. Max said I did well." Laura's smile grew wider, and she hugged him tightly. "I knew you would. You've always worked hard." Sam hugged her back, warmth filling his chest. He was doing this for them, for their future. That night, as he lay in bed, he thought about everything that had happened. The next day, something happened that caught Sam's attention. A man came into the office, speaking loudly about missing papers. He looked upset, his face bright red. Sam felt nervous in his chest as he watched. Max and Daniel walked over to the man, trying to calm him down. Sam wasn't sure what to do. He had never been in a situation like this before, and his heart was beating fast. Should he help or stay back? "Sam, can you get me the papers from last week's deliveries?" Daniel asked, sounding calm even though the room felt tense. Sam quickly nodded and went to look through the files. His hands shook as he searched, but he took a deep breath to calm himself. Finally, he found the papers and rushed over to Daniel. "Here you go," Sam said, trying to keep his voice steady. Daniel smiled and took the papers. "Thanks, Sam. This will help." Sam stepped back and watched as Daniel used the papers to solve the problem. Slowly, the man calmed down. After a while, he thanked Daniel and left the office. Max walked over to Sam and gave him a thumbs up. "You did well, Sam. Things can get heated sometimes, but you stayed calm. That's important." Sam let out a breath, feeling the tension leave his shoulders. "Thanks, Max. I wasn't sure what to do." "You did exactly what you needed to," Max said kindly. "You're learning, Sam, and that's what matters." By the end of the day, Sam was tired, but it was a good kind of tired. He had faced something new, something tough, and made it through. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. He was enough. When Sam rode his bike home, the wind blew past him, and he felt free. He was making slow, steady progress. He was learning to trust himself, to believe that he could do more than just get by. He could do well. At home, Laura and Lily were waiting for him. Lily ran up to him, eyes wide with excitement. Gabby, how was work today?" Sam laughed, picking her up and spinning her around. "It was good, Anna. I learned a lot." Laura smiled at them, her eyes full of love. "You're doing great, Sam. I'm so proud of you." Sam put Anna down, feeling proud of himself. He looked at Laura with a real smile. "Thanks, Ma. I'm doing this for us. For all of us." Laura hugged him tightly. "I know, Sam. We're behind you all the way." That night, as Sam lay in bed, he thought about the past week. It hadn't been easy. There were times when he wasn't sure if he could do it, times when he felt like he might fail. But each day, he kept going, and each day, he grew a little bit. He closed his eyes, feeling peaceful. This was just the beginning, but it was a good start. He was ready for whatever came next. The next morning, Sam woke up early, feeling more determined than ever. Today, he was going to prove he belonged here. It wasn't just about proving himself to Daniel, Max, or anyone else anymore. It was about proving it to himself. As he was leaving, Laura handed him a piece of bread and gave him a warm smile. "Good luck today, Sam. I know you're going to do great. Sam hugged her. Thanks, Ma. I'll do my best. The ride to work felt faster. Sam's confidence made everything feel lighter. He pedaled harder, the cool breeze on his face as he thought about the day ahead. Today felt special, like he was on the edge of something big. When Sam got to work, Daniel was waiting for him outside, smiling. Morning, Sam. Today's going to be a big day. Sam raised an eyebrow. Big day? What's going on? Daniel nodded, motioning for Sam to follow him inside. Come on, I want to show you something. Daniel led Sam down the hallway to a door Sam hadn't been through before. When Daniel opened it, Sam saw a big room with lots of desks. People were moving around, papers and computers everywhere. It was busy. This, Daniel said, is where the logistics team works. Today, I want you to shadow me here. Sam's eyes widened. Shadow you? This is where all the important work happens? Daniel smiled. Exactly. That's why I want you to be here. You've been doing well, and you're a quick learner. I want you to see how things work at this level. Sam's heart raced, but he nodded. I'm ready. Daniel sat at a desk and pulled out a chair for Sam. He pointed to the computer. Today, I'll show you how we process orders. We have to make sure everything is correct. It's hard, but it's the most important part of our job. Sam listened closely, trying to understand. There were lots of details to check, and mistakes weren't allowed. It felt like a lot, but Sam focused and took his time. Daniel was patient, guiding him step by step. Take it slow, Daniel said when Sam hesitated. It's better to be careful than to rush. Sam nodded, breathing deeply, and kept going. With each task he finished, he felt a little more confident. It wasn't perfect, but he was getting it. Around noon, a problem came up. A delivery had gone to the wrong address, and the customer was angry. Sam could feel the tension in the room. Daniel turned to him and said, "Come on, Sam, let's handle this." Sam followed Daniel to the phone. He listened as Daniel spoke calmly to the customer, fixing the issue. When the call ended, Daniel turned to Sam. This is part of the job too. Sometimes things go wrong, but we don't give up. We fix it and we stay calm. Sam nodded, feeling a new determination. He wanted to be someone who could handle problems like that, someone who could take responsibility. The rest of the day was busy. Sam learned more, taking on new tasks and asking questions. It was a lot to take in, but Daniel helped him understand. By the end of the day, Sam was tired but proud. He had learned so much, and he was doing it. You did great today, Daniel said as they walked to the door. It's a lot to learn, but you did well. Sam smiled, feeling tired but grateful. Thanks, Daniel. I still have a lot to learn. Daniel nodded. That's okay. Just keep working hard and you'll get there. Sam felt hopeful as he left the office. Laura was waiting outside, looking concerned. You look tired, Sam. Was it a hard day? Sam nodded, smiling tiredly. Yeah, it was tough, but it was good. I learned a lot. Laura smiled and hugged him. I'm proud of you, Sam. I know it's not easy, but you're doing something great. They walked home together, the sun setting behind them. Sam felt the weight of the day, but it was the kind of weight that came from knowing he was growing, becoming someone better. As he lay in bed that night, he thought about the future. There were still many challenges ahead, but for the first time, he wasn't scared. He had people who believed in him and would help him grow. He closed his eyes with a smile. Today had shown him that he was capable of more than he ever thought. And he was ready for whatever came next.